Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 6, 2025 Municipal Planning Commission for the Town of Smyrna. And with that, I will call the meeting to order. And if you'll stand with us, Mark's going to lead us in prayer, and Ken's got the pledge tonight.
You would bow with me. Father in heaven, we just come to you this evening, Father, and just asking for your wisdom and your guidance as we do the business of our town. Lord, we also ask you to continue to watch over those that serve our town, our first responders, fire, police, all the employees, the ones that do the hard work, Father, that just make our town a better place to live. Continue to bless us as you always have, Father, and continue to try to heal our country. Our country needs so much healing right now. We just pray that you will continue to have your hands on everything about our country. Go with us now. Forgive us where we fail you. It's in these things we ask. Amen. Please place it back. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mark and Ken. Our next agenda item is public hearing. Kevin, item A has been withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay. Then we will move on to item B of public hearing. This is a plan of service for Sunny Patel, 8216 Florence Road. Kevin, give us a brief description.
Yeah, this is just the plan of services for the annexation request, which is later on in your agenda. This would be putting in writing the services that the town would be providing if the town chooses to annex this property. In this case, it would be all services, as this does lie within our water boundaries, and obviously all other services as well.
Okay. And with that, I will open up the public hearing for anyone that's here that would like to come forward and comment. If you are coming forward, just to remind everybody, you have 3 minutes in which to speak, and at the end of that time, if you have anything else that you'd like to get before us, you can submit it in writing. And when you do come up, if you would just give us your name, address, and whether or not you're within the town limits or not. Okay. It doesn't appear anyone wants to come up during this public hearing, so I'll close the public hearing and we'll call the Planning Commission back in session. And with that, we will move on to citizens' comments.
We don't have any tonight.
Okay, no citizens' comments. So we'll now move on to the next agenda item, approval or corrections of the minutes of the October 2nd, 2025 regular meeting and the October 30th, 2025 quarterly joint meeting. Counselor, are the meeting minutes in order?
In order as to form, unless you have any amendments you'd like to make.
Okay. Any questions or comments, discussion from the commission? I will entertain a motion.
move to approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. We are now on to our first item under old business. It's annexation, zoning, and plan of service request, 452 Properties LLC, Mona Road and 840 annexation and PUD zoning.
Yeah, this is a request that you all have already recommended once, but it was, the council did ask it to come back to you all for further revisions and further review of it, and ask the developer to make some changes too. So I'll kind of go over this and highlight kind of the big picture, then also look at the changes that have been made. This is a request for annexation with a PUD zoning. The surrounding zoning is RM in Rutherford County. Land use plan for this area is the 840 Gateway character area, which would support a mix of things such as hospitality, restaurant, retail, high-density residential, and industrial / warehousing uses. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Bill France Road as a principal arterial. The plan also shows a future minor arterial, which will connect Bill France Road to Hickory Grove Road and eventually to Jefferson Pike. And development of these properties would require dedication of right-of-way and construction of this improvement. This requested PUD is a mixture of two things. Well, about 34.3 acres zone C2, and the remaining 190.95 acres to be developed as if it were zoned I2. For the area to be developed with C2 standards, this is some of the things that have been added that were not what you looked at before. All provisions of the C2 district would apply except for the specific prohibition of the following uses: specialized tobacco or smoke shop, including a vape shop, or any business that devotes more than 25% of its floor space to the sale of tobacco products; self-storage facilities, adult-oriented establishments, auto towing services, mobile home park, and residential activity uses, with the exception of those allowed by right or special exception. And that's primarily in the C2 district, just things like nursing homes and assisted living facilities is primarily what that would be. So those would not be prohibited. The maximum square footage allowed within this area would be 350,000. That's building square footage. For the area to be developed with I2 standards, all provisions would apply with the request that the height limit in those areas be 60 feet in lieu of the 50-foot limit as stated in the zoning ordinance, and that the uses of airports, air cargo terminals, heliports, and aircraft dealers not be allowed. The maximum building square footage in that area is 2.5 million. No pole signs would be allowed within the development. That was something that was in there previously as well. This annexation, there's two options: non-contiguous or contiguous. We would recommend, if you choose to annex it, that it would be contiguous, certainly. That would require annexation of about approximately 1 mile of West Jefferson Pike from the current town limits, which is a state highway, and then 4.2 miles of Mona Road, which is a county road. That would basically be from Jefferson Pike northward to the northernmost point of the road frontage that this parcel has on Mona Road. So that would, if the annexation would include that, the annexation of those right-of-ways as well. Sewer, it basically will not exist until the trunk line gets extended, which is approximately 2 years at minimum. We are working through an agreement with the developer for that, as well as the water line or water improvements that would be handled and overseen by Consolidated Utility District, as they are the water provider. That agreement has not been signed and finalized yet, but that is in process and in discussion. Currently, we're waiting on the final approval from the Consolidated Utility District for the water portion of that. Now we're going to get into a couple other comments that we had that were to the revised plan. There is a phasing plan within your packet of information you have in front of you there. That phasing plan is part of the, and I'll see if I can, I don't know if we get the phasing plan on here or not, but we do have, the roadway, which is kind of, this is kind of looking at it kind of west to north, north on the left-hand side instead of north at the top of the page. The roadway that's proposed, there's an existing county road, which was kind of a remnant of what used to be Mona Road, called Coulter Court. That would be extended through the site. The phasing plan, basically buildings, the 4 southernmost buildings would be phase 1 and 2, built in phase 1 and 2, and there would not be that connection back to Bill France Road and Coulter Court until phase 3. We have a concern about that you could have at least 4, maybe depending on when it got built, as they start building the buildings that would be in phase 3, that Mona Road would be the only ingress and egress from those buildings, and for, again, potentially up to phase 3. So we did have a concern about that from the phasing perspective. One thing that has, I guess we don't have that one on there. It is here. It has changed. There was been discussion about donation of land for a fire station, and that was shown already on the plans. It has moved. The proposal has, location of that has moved. The fire department still needs to evaluate that. Based on previous discussions, I think it is in a better location than what we had before as far as that for the operations of the fire department once it's built. Number 10 was kind of an informational comment regarding, because this is such a large site, the stormwater department did recommend, no more than 50 acres at a time. That was something basically for their TDEC permitting purposes. I'll get that in a minute. We had asked for, since it is a PUD, the sign ordinance requires within a PUD that the developer create a signage plan. And so they have done that. We did have some comments there regarding the maximum square footage for monument signs. Again, no pole signs in the development. These would all be monuments. The square footage of the wall signs, and we did recommend a max or a minimum 10-foot setback from the public right-of-ways for those monument signs. All those comments have been addressed. The plans have been revised to reflect all that. Number 15 was an informational comment, and they did not make any changes, and so I think they're okay with it, I guess. But the commercial area would also only be allowed monument signs in compliance with the sign ordinance, and no interstate signs or pylon signs, and wall signage would be allowed as allowed by the sign ordinance. So they did not request anything different from that, so that's how that's going to fall. Comment 16 there, the traffic study did recommend 2-foot, their traffic study that they did, recommended 2-foot shoulders be added to Mona Road. The second phase or sentence in that comment, we can remove that. It is just for that area north of the creek, going back to Bill France. Staff did recommend 4-foot shoulders be constructed, not 2 feet. So that is something they still do show 2-foot shoulders, and we would recommend 4. The rest of the comments are from Consolidated Utility District, and they relate to the water improvements. And so that's something that certainly, again, that agreement's being worked through now. So I guess the primary comments, at least from the staff standpoint, that still need to be, we feel like need to be looked at, or discussed at least, is the phasing plan, and then the comment regarding the traffic study and the traffic shoulders on Mona Road. Some other things that were talked about at our last, when we had the joint meeting, just to talk about this back in September. There has been some additional buffering shown. I'm trying to get to the page. Yeah, toward the last couple of pages there in your packet, kind of show that. There are some exhibits there that show the buffering that's being proposed now for the buildings in this phase that are near property zoned residential. And the elevations that show that they're looking to, even though the buildings might be 50 or potentially 60 feet tall, the excavation and all would be in such that there would be kind of a retaining wall, and so not necessarily 60 feet of the building would be visible because of that, because the floor elevation would be below where that existing surrounding ground would be. So that's something that is, I think it's additional. There was a lot of discussion about that, so I wanted to point that out. And then they've got a little bit more detail on their stormwater, at least the concept on their stormwater plans as well, which is on the page just before those landscape sheets, I believe. If I get there. No, those are the roadway improvements, I'm sorry. But there are some additional details there. And then there's the utility layouts, and the roadway improvements that they are proposing. And then the architectural elevations, which are a little bit more robust, I guess you would say, as far as the details on them as well. All that's, again, is within the stack of information you have there in front of you. I believe that's all that I have.
Okay. Questions for Kevin or staff for this?
So my only questions, Kevin, part of the stuff that we talked about in council, I think you've already hit on all of those. I'm trying to get to the map here. Where on their map on the screen here, where's the fire hall now?
It will be on the Mona Road near the intersection of Mona and the new road that they would be building. It is on page in front of you there. Let me see if I can find it.
So how does that affect, we were talking about restricting the right turn on the Mona Road for truck traffic. How does that affect that if the fire hall's there? Won't they have to make left and right turns out of there?
And I don't know if the restrictions
Oh, I
on the right
found it.
turn.
It's on page, I don't know what page
It's
this is.
2.05 has
Sheet
it.
3.01 is what I
Yeah,
got.
it has it there as well, yeah. I think, as far as within, I don't think it's gonna affect the ability to make that restriction within the construction that they do there. I think we need to look at it, regardless of where the fire hall ends up, if it ends up on this property, we need to make sure that the fire truck will be able to turn left and right. So
Okay.
I think that's something, so I don't know if the restriction, if the fire truck is short enough that it wouldn't be a problem for them or not. That's something we have to look at though, for sure.
As long as we're considering or thinking about that going forward, I think it's fine. You had two comments, the shoulder. I had actually a conversation with some of the folks out there and Commissioner Ricky Hall. They were concerned about the 4-foot shoulder means that there would just be more room for truck parking along that section, north section of Mona Road, which apparently already occurs when they're waiting for businesses to open or waiting to deliver or whatever. Could that be something that no truck parking is allowed? Obviously,
I think for sure, of course, the issue, I think, a little bit of an issue is really, is the portion north of their entrance is what we're talking about, which
Yeah.
is not the area we're looking to annex.
Right.
That's the other, it would still, at this point at least, would still be a county road. So it's something that
something
our
they can't.
police department couldn't enforce.
They can't control and our police department can't enforce, that's right.
Yeah, so, if you're parking now, or even with a 4-foot shoulder and you're a tractor trailer, you're taking up half the lane of the road at minimum.
I just didn't know what we could
that's not a
do
safe
if they're gonna be,
situation.
if they were on the hook to make the improvements, what kind of leverage we could use there to make sure that it doesn't just become truck parking,
Right,
since the improvements are being made by the developer.
and again, I think, to me, that's an enforcement issue, sounds like. And at this time, that would be the sheriff's department to enforce it, and even in the future.
Counselor, I'm assuming that means there's not much we can do here. Can't really make the sheriff's department do something, I get that, but,
That's right, but I'm sure that they would. But as far as it's out in the county, obviously we wouldn't be able to enforce that.
I
okay.
mean, at some point, it could become a city street, certainly, and at
Yeah,
that
well,
point.
yeah,
at
if
that
it
point, it's
became
not-
our street, then it'd be
becomes-
obvious,
That becomes
right?
a moot point, we could certainly enforce that,
And put up signage and those types
Yeah.
of.
right.
So it would basically be on us or the developer or the citizen, somebody to request the county to put up signs and enforce it.
Right.
Okay. And then I think your other concern was the phasing, that entrance. So you kind of identified the issue, so what would you recommend?
I think at some point, before probably those 4 buildings are done or whatever, I think we would need to look at that road at least the minimum kind of,
Are the phases identified on this map somewhere?
they are,
Yeah, I
I'm
see
trying to
it, I
find that
see it.
sheet, which sheet it is.
Red is phase one, correct?
Yes.
From what I'm seeing.
So I guess where I'm confused, that if red is phase one, building 7 and 8, are they not in phase one?
Building, yes,
And
yeah,
it's-
7 and 8 really are really the first two buildings.
So it looks
as far
like
as the
that-
industrial buildings that would be built.
So would that intersection not be built as part of that?
The intersection from Mona Road, yes. I'm more concerned about the extension of Coulter Court, the road that's going to parallel 840. It's
Oh,
going,
the blue and the yellow.
it
I
becomes,
gotcha.
right. See, because phase 3 is the blue phase there, and that's really what they're saying it would be done. So you would have, 4 buildings over 1 million square feet built.
So I guess what you're saying,
Going one way and
ideally, we would have them extend the road all the way to kind of the T there, and then basically create the L. They could do the part that's in front of Building 5 later, but basically create the connection.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not so much worried about the part that goes further south in that phase
Yeah, right.
necessarily. It's really more making that connection to provide another way for trucks in and out to
Yeah,
these
mo-
buildings besides Mona Road.
Yeah, it looks
That's
like
what I'm trying to get
most
to.
of that road basically is either, it's part of phase 2 or phase 3.
Correct.
But yeah, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 buildings before that was necessarily constructed. So we could do, could we put in our motion something like it has to be constructed before phase 3 can begin or something like that?
I think at minimum it ought to be a part of phase 2,
Yeah,
Because that becomes, if it's built as part of phase 2, then when buildings 5 and 6 get built, it'll be there, So that's where I'm looking at it.
yeah. So I guess the last piece for this is really for the commission. You guys probably remember us talking about the CUD agreement before, and we've talked about it in council. I've talked to council several times about it. The agreement is the council's agreement. It's not really the planning agreement. So it really has no bearing on the PRD. It has bearing on whether or not the council approves the PRD and the annexation going forward, but it doesn't have anything to do with planning's approval of the PRD. So we could approve it, which then sends it off to council. Council still has 2 readings, and it would be on council to make sure that CUD agreement is in place before they approve it, which they have been very adamant that that has to be done before they will approve it. Matter of fact, Paul's in the room. I know he's been told several times, don't even bring it back until you have that agreement. So that's the conversation from the council generally that's been shared. But it really doesn't have any bearing on planning's movements tonight. Did I say anything wrong there, council? We're good?
No, and the reason that you even were aware of that agreement was you've already approved the plan of services. Those plans have not changed, so that's already been approved with the plan of service.
It's more of the logistics
Well, you just had,
and agreements
you just had to
to
know
make it work.
how was it going to happen?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to serve it? And so that's why the outline of that agreement gave you the tenets of how that was going to work. So the basis of planning that, or approving the plan of services when you did 2 months ago, whenever it was.
Right.
It's also my understanding there were about 6 items, I think, on the communities list, and I think 4 or 5 of those have been addressed. I think the last one is still being worked out, but they had some concerns like bay doors not facing the residential property, which the builder has agreed not to do, buffering, the bigger buildings not closer to the residential property, some of those kind of issues, and I think he's agreed to all of those as well.
Did they get the buffering portion of that worked out? Because that was kind of the sore point initially.
Yeah, they
It shows
have-
on here it's a 50-foot landscape buffer. That's what
Right.
I'm seeing here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it they're gonna leave, because there's some wooded areas already. I think it is a 50-foot buffer. They also have,
But my question is whether there's extra trees there or not. Does that satisfy the people that,
yeah, now that, I haven't talked to
I don't know
those
if Paul and
folks.
them worked
I
that out or
can't-
not. That's why I'm
I can't say
asking.
that for sure.
I think that's a pretty important part of what we were looking at initially on this. Looking at this, I mean, there's quite a distance from these and the homes, but I know I've received emails about that. I've talked to some of the people that live out that way in previous meetings, after the meetings, and they were sort of pretty adamant about trying to get a 100-foot buffer. I don't know if that went to Paul and your group or not, or if that got discussed or not, but
I know one of the homeowners is here, and I know Paul's here. I don't know if we want to
that's up to him.
let them speak or not.
I want to make sure we just do the right thing by them. That's the main thing, so.
Well, let's have, Paul, if you want to come up and let's address that. I think it's important to do so. So you give us your name and address, please.
Paul Ranke, 6410 Poplar Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. Not a resident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. Yeah, so much to address there, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to address these points. And I guess I'll work backwards from what I heard just now. So the revisions that we've made to this plan since the last time you've seen it are a culmination of comments we received from this body the last time, town council's comments from the workshop session, as well as additional community meetings that we've had. The most recent one was the middle of October. All of those have been really productive and very helpful for us and has shaped this plan into what you see before you now. Specifically, Councilman Atkins, to your question about the buffers. So two things on those that we did based on the last community meeting. One is we self-imposed building height restrictions, which is in this packet. Basically, the first 100 feet within our property line, buildings are restricted to 40 feet height, which is less than Smyrna's maximum building height allowed. The next 100 feet, we're allowed to go to 50-foot overall height. And then beyond that is the 60 feet that we ultimately are asking for. And so by stepping down, or I guess stepping up, right, building heights, the further you get away from the property line, that helps alleviate the sightline concerns that some of the community had. Secondly, the landscape buffers, if I understood correctly, the intent of that was to say, hey, when we're within 1,000 feet of a home, they would like to see a 100-foot buffer. I'm gonna look over my shoulder. Yep, right, okay, I have that right, yep. So, when I left that meeting and I heard that clearly, we've studied that. In the cases where we know houses are currently, the only place that really comes into play that we're aware of is on the eastern tract. There might be one home here. Bottom line, we're fine with that 100-foot additional landscape buffer. I'm sorry?
Is that the Lot 6 property?
Lot 6.
Is that the one that's closest to your product?
Is that next to the commercial?
Yes.
Piece?
Well, no. Lot 7 would border the commercial, yeah. I'm just looking for a dwelling that would be
I think-
close to this. It looks like on Lot 6, there's one that backs up to track 1.
I think building 2 is likely the one that will be closest to any home in this scenario. So we'll be happy to commit to doing a 100-foot landscape buffer next to that building. Everywhere else, though, I think we're well in excess of.
I heard you say, or heard Kevin say, that you're going to move the bay doors away from the neighboring residences. Will that help alleviate some of their concern for trucks, noise, loading, unloading, all that kind of stuff? Or is the buffer going to be ample to do that anyway?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's our intent, like I've just committed to, the 100-foot buffer where we are in proximity of 1,000 feet to a home. We're committing to that. That was a late add, so I don't know that it's necessarily memorialized in our packet. So if you'd like to make that a condition of approval tonight, I'm happy to accept that. As far as turning truck courts, orienting truck courts so that they're not facing homes, I think, again, my interpretation of that request was that, again, when they're within a certain proximity to homes, not necessarily every building that could be a mile away from the nearest home, potentially. I'm exaggerating by that, but
So you had a meeting with the neighborhoods back in October, correct?
correct.
did you receive feedback on this from them, and are they seeming to be amicable to what you presented or not? Because we're going to hear from one of them at least in a minute, I'd say.
Sure.
So,
I feel like we've made a lot of progress from where we started in these conversations. There's the mid-October meeting, there were commitments made on our part, and those all seem to be well received. Sure, there's still some work to be done, but primarily that seems to all be focused on the eastern tract, which we know we've still got some work to do over there. But we've made plenty of commitments over there as far as removing an entire building and.
well, I know you've worked on it hard. You
Oh,
have.
yes, sir.
So, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up all the time speaking up here, but those
Sure.
were two questions I had, so.
Okay. If I could just address a couple more points, if that's okay, while I'm up here. So the fire station, yes, it is to the east of Building 8, between Building 8 and Mona Road. Our civil engineer is here with us tonight. He can speak more intelligently about traffic implications of that, as well as addressing the comment about the phasing plan and when the interior roads get built, the timing of all that. He has that data with that traffic study, so I'd like him to come up here when I'm finished and address that comment for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, he doesn't have to, if you could just answer if if you're okay with the completion of that road before Phase 3 starts. Can you do that?
I would feel better if he could address that, because he just knows that better than I do, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Yeah, okay.
I guess the short answer to that is, we're going to do traffic studies with each building site plan application that we bring forward. And so at each point, that traffic study will be updated to show what the demands will look like, what the needs are going to be. And at some point, that traffic studies are going to say, hey, you need to finish this road, right? So, but he can speak to that a little bit more intelligently than I can. I will say too, the signage package, that was, we're pretty proud of that one. Like, there's a lot of high standards in there that exceeds even Smyrna's guidelines. So those are, again, self-imposed conditions that we've put on ourselves because we have a high quality of what our product needs to look like. So happy to answer any questions about that specifically, and as well as the uses. Kevin mentioned all the different uses. Those, again, were a product of hearing concerns from the neighbors as well as town council. As far as the shoulders on Mona Road, again, I'd like to ask Jason to speak to that because we've gotten some feedback on it. It's been somewhat discussed here today, but he can speak a lot to that. So I think I'll stop there, ask Jason to come up, and then if you guys have any additional follow-up questions for us, happy to address it. Thank you.
All right. Yep. And name
Good
and address,
evening.
please.
Yeah, Jason Weaver, 2559 Southwest Grapevine Parkway in Grapevine, Texas. I'm with GM Civil. So, we'll first touch base on the phasing and y'all's discussion there. So when we started coordinating with Rutherford County, we actually had a traffic scoping meeting with them and coordinated with their consultant, Neil Schaefer, and basically identified how we wanted to start doing a TIA for this whole development, the whole 1,400 acres. So when we did that, the west phase, which actually what is all within Smyrna that we had, that was basically our first phase of development that we really did a detailed dive on. The rest of it was kind of just some bigger, larger, kind of overall general themes. But with that, we went through, did level of service analysis for all the major intersections, based on a build out of this whole development. That's all the commercial, all the industrial buildings as you see here today. So the trip generation for this whole western side, 75% of the traffic is generated by the commercial retail. So 25% is for the industrial development. When we did the traffic distribution, we assumed that as we do full build out on this thing, the north-south minor arterial that parallels 840 and connects to Coulter at Bill France, we assumed about 75% of the traffic would probably ultimately use that pathway. And the other 25% would go east-west and use Mona up to Bill France. So with that, the first three phases of our buildings, that would be, buildings 3 through 8, that represents 20% of the industrial traffic. So if we assume that 25% of the build-out traffic would use Mona, and at that build-out stage, the level of service from Mona Road averaged an A or a B. It triggered a couple of signal warrants, but it was based on a queue length. So really, it didn't necessarily say we needed to put a signal at the build-out, but it was one of those things that needed to be evaluated probably by the time all the commercial gets built out at that time. But bottom line, from our standpoint, we're looking at it saying you're only having about 20% of the traffic from this whole development for the first 3 phases, but 25% of the overall traffic can use Mona Road without an adverse impact on the current roadway system. So with that, we think the current roadway with Mona and all that can support up to phase 3 with only that single point of connection. So obviously, as Paul said, we're going to submit a traffic impact analysis update every time we do another building site plan application. So it'll be an ongoing process that we work with staff and the county, whoever it may be, as we look for the future phases to the east of this. And if it merits something more than that connection, then at that point, then obviously that's something we'll address and handle with the city. So that's kind of our philosophy on it. And we feel like, if we do the continuous analysis on it and work with the city, that we're going to provide the adequate transportation system that we need to support this development. Then I'll just jump over to the shoulders. So as Councilman Sullivan mentioned, part of the feedback we had received was the concern about trucks, parking, either waiting for opportunities to go to the buildings, sleeping, whatever the drivers may be doing. The average width of Mona, north of Bill France and through there up to the intersection, is about 22 to 23 feet of existing paving as it sits today. So adding 2 feet of paving shoulders on either side actually supplies a typical north-south lane and then has a little bit of extra room to accommodate, just from a safety standpoint, if a bus and a truck happens to be passing each other, that gives that a little bit of extra room, a 13-foot wide lane pretty much on each direction. But also, it doesn't invite, trucks to be parking further and further down, south of Mona Road that some of the residents had complained about. So that's where we were trying to be cognizant of that and some of their concerns. And that was the reason for why we left that condition as part of our packet. So.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
As Coulter Road comes down, you can see it comes down the depth of the project, and then it's not named, but there's a road that goes between Building 4 and then out to Mona Road.
Yes, sir.
What's the width of that road?
That one is it's a 3-lane road too. It's a 37-foot back-to-back.
So in the event there was trucks waiting to offload, that could be there, so not putting them on Mona Road, but putting on that road?
Right, there would still be ample room for any queuing or somebody just, waiting at that condition.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And relative to the fire station too, let me address that. So obviously we moved it up to the frontage of Mona. And as Kevin had mentioned, obviously we would need to coordinate with the fire department and see what their thoughts on that site are. Ultimately, long-term, we think that the fire station site will probably actually move further east with the future development. But for right now, this is obviously the case that's in front of us today. So we're trying to work within the confines of our application as we are today. So we think with that facing there, the fire station could have the opportunity to have a direct driveway access to Mona, back and forth instead of actually, internal to the development itself. So that's something, again, we can work with the staff on and make sure that we can still have that restrictive movement for trucks, make sure all the trucks go north. But I think that's something that we could work at if the fire department says that they like that site, so.
Kevin, for the audience's sake, do you have your laser?
Here.
No. Just for the audience's sake, we all know where it's going. I thought for people watching to point it out if there might be helpful, but that's okay. Don't go get it, Mitch. You'd be gone a day.
I got you one if you need it.
There you go. Look at Ken coming.
Quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
So that same road we're talking about, when it goes to what we're calling the East Project, it's going to cross Mona Road, right? Or is this just going to stop here?
That depends. Obviously, we don't control what's on the east side of Mona Road. I mean, we're putting in a public collector road east-west, to help support the truck traffic that's in there. But yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity for that collector road to, be extended if the developer or the property owner to the east feels it's beneficial to them. Yeah.
Isn't it, am I mistaken, the 700-acre parcel, isn't it right on the other side of Mona Road, or is it? Okay, never mind.
There's a tract of land in between. Yes,
Never
sir.
mind.
Yeah.
Don't hit the bear spray over there, Kevin. That's the wrong thing on that laser thing.
This is the property here, their track's over here, and then.
So
I
this
gotta-
new road on Mona Road with that big of traffic, is it going to require a stoplight?
Ultimately, at some point, maybe outside of the full build-out of this, when more development continues to the east, yes, at some point, there will be a traffic signal at Mona Road, most definitely, so.
The racetrack, which is across from it, has a lot of industrial development. So it fits the zone. I'm glad they're doing commercial, but there's eventually going to be probably a need for a signal, I would think.
My current thought is just all the homeowners that are south of this, and if Paul's met with all of them, and they're all on board and understand what's coming.
Yes, sir.
Kevin, would you point out where the potential
Yeah.
fire hall would be?
Yeah, it's right here.
Right.
Yeah,
This
that
is
could have its
Mona.
own driveway in and out.
Yeah, it would.
So let me, since you got the laser, you can follow me, but I'm kind of looking at your phasing map, and I've kind of heard what you said.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate all that, but I'm going to respectfully disagree a little bit. So Coulter's going to come down off of Bill France,
Right.
and that first 350,000 square feet of commercial in the front there is Phase 1. Then you immediately pass Building 1 and Building 3, which is part of Phase 3. Then you hit you hit that intersection and go out to Mona Road, which crosses in front of Building 8, which is Phase 1 again.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not sure I understand the reservation to committing to building that road, just like I just went.
Understood.
Since 1 and 3 are pretty much the two phases, I'm
Yes, sir.
just saying, before you could go past Phase 3, that road has to be completed.
So part of the clarification on that, Hillwood has no intention of developing the commercial track. So they don't control that. If somebody comes in, once they start bringing utilities here and they start marketing this property, and those folks, someone comes in and says, yeah, I want to jump on board Phase 1 when y'all are doing your Phase 1 of the industrial. We just had to put a phase on the commercial because it was asked for. So, but with our conditions that we stated in there, if a commercial developer comes in on Phase 1, they have to make that connection to Coulter Court and extend it into the development. So if the commercial starts to develop, that may change, honestly, not to mess up with our deal. The phasing plan is our best guess right now, right? We're locking in the site plan. That's part of the condition too that we came back with. Originally, this was a conceptual layout that had some flexibility, but obviously just talking with the residents and the city council, that was part of the condition. So now we're locking this plan in. Any changes that we do to it, we have to come back with an amendment. So that's part of what we've agreed to. But market conditions could say that, buildings 1 and 3, somebody says, I want those instead of building 8, Hillwood may make that decision, like, okay, well, if we do that, then those improvements may start happening quicker than, what we're forecasting right now. They obviously start with a lot of speculative development.
I understand
So,
that,
yeah.
but it could also be later. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
my concern, right? So,
And
here's my problem. It seems like I'm giving all of the control to you guys, but the impact could be to the community just as much.
Yes, sir.
If that connection isn't made, and you end up, just like you said, if it ends up not being needed until all 8 buildings are done, then everything is coming out on Mona Road until then. And I just don't like that variant, right?
Understood.
We need to be able to control that better.
Yeah, and so I think that's where we're coming back with, every time we turn a site plan in, we want to monitor that with staff. And if we come back with a condition and we've done updated traffic counts on Bill France and on Mona, and, you know, with our next round of comments, and it says, hey, we need to make that connection, then obviously with the site plan approval process, I mean, the city has the right to hold our feet to the fire to make those improvements, right, at that stage. So all we're asking for is to be able to prove that flexibility up until such time that it's necessary. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a lot of infrastructure that's going on to feed this first phase that feeds everything else. So, you know, it's just part of, you know, the request, you know, and again, we've backed it up, you know, with an analysis that shows those conditions. And again, we're happy to keep coordinating with staff to that point. So, yep.
Okay.
Councilman Sullivan, would you mind just repeating what your suggestion was again about when the completion of that road should be done by?
By the end of.
By the end of
first
phase two?
Phase two,
Before-
not the whole road, just that L.
Before starting
When-
phase
When you
3?
start phase 3, you gotta have that road done.
Done.
And I really didn't.
That's not a problem.
Okay, good, because 3 and 4 is in phase 3, you gotta have the road to get to them.
By that
so-
time, yeah, right.
Okay.
Yep, sorry, I think we were maybe saying the same thing, but not, so.
Got it.
Apologies.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is everybody good as far as questions?
One question, Kevin, in the early part of your description, Mona Road down to Jefferson Pike and all of that land, or just the road is being annexed in?
Just the road.
Okay. And in the previous submission, the sewer's gonna come up Mona Road. So all of Mona Road is gonna be tore up, sewer put in.
I don't know that some of us, I don't know that the entire sewer is, I don't think the design's finished yet, but I don't think we're looking to put it directly down the middle of Mona Road. I think part of it is going to be off-site as well. I think there's some easements that have to be purchased and different things like that too, so.
Okay.
There's
All
quite a
of the
bit.
neighbors, a part of that, they know what's coming, disruption?
Sorry, you asked that again?
So from Jefferson Pike, coming up Mona Road is where the sewer is going, point of connection is, it's going to come into this development here. So the easiest path would just take Mona Road right on up into that development. Has that been dialogue with all the community of what the impact will be?
I think,
Outside of your development, what's going to be fed to their development, do they know what's coming?
right. Certainly, residents that are within the required notice radius of this application are aware of this coming, and I'm sure several others because of the world of social media we live in these days, right? Word spreads easily. So I'm sure a lot of the word has gotten out. Certainly at the last neighborhood meeting that we had in mid-October, more residents that live much further south on Mona Road showed up at that meeting, which was great. Some of them for the first time, so we got that great engagement. They're aware of what's being proposed. As far as whether they have been engaged on the official easement acquisition process or not, we have not, right? That process, to our knowledge, hasn't started yet. As part of the utility agreement that's being currently negotiated, that would be the town and CUD's obligation to go procure the easements. So, but I don't think that process has started yet.
But you have had discussions with most of the community there, and they understand what's coming as far as development goes.
I believe so. We've been clear about it. And I think that early on, there were some concerns or maybe some confusion about the annexation of Mona Road, including their properties. And so we made sure quickly to make that clear that no, that it's just for the road itself. Any annexation on their properties would be at their consent. So.
And to Ken's point, I know he asked about the land south of here, and I know Ken already knows this, but for the audience portion, we cannot annex anything. The town cannot annex anything. It has to be requested. And that changed several years ago, but the confusion might circle around where some people might think, well, they're just going to take our land in. They'd have to be the ones to request that.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Let me do this out of, well, are there anything more questions on the development side?
Yeah, one more question. Kevin, on the 4 foot versus 2 foot. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about why you think it should be 4 feet? 'Cause-
Well, it was something Mr. Charles King had mentioned, and we had looked at it when we were doing our plan of services, kind of a cost that the 4 foot shoulders, it was part of our recommendation all along, and so we were being consistent with that recommendation. I think Charles may can speak to that, the specifics on that.
Charles, do you want to come
Potential.
up and speak to that?
Yeah. Charles, just so you kind of know where my thought process is like I
Right.
said, with the parking trucks. And basically what I've heard is we have no leverage to enforce that at this point.
Right.
So if we put a 4 foot shoulder there, are we going to be inviting something we can't control?
Well-
Versus 2 foot now and 4 foot later, when we annex that road, we look at it in the future when somebody
I
else.
was just looking at it, just like here on Weekly Lane, you have so much truck traffic running off the edge of the road and you're breaking it down. Like I said, you only got 22 feet out there, normal, truck lane is 12 foot wide. So you at least want to get that, so that's 2 foot right there to kind of get it. We're just wanting that extra, just so you don't have trucks dropping off, then breaking that edge off the road and dropping into the ditch, because that's something that we're working now to work on Weekly Lane to correct. So that's my feeling behind it. Between a 2 foot or 4 foot, the truck's gonna be in the road. I mean, that's just gonna be an enforcement issue.
Yeah, my concern is we're making that determination, but we can't enforce it. And that's.
Right.
We might be creating a problem for the homeowners that
That
we
would be
can't
more
help
on the
enforce.
county. Like I said, if the county comes back under theirs and they feel comfortable with the 2 foot, I mean, that's something we can definitely talk to them about. But yeah, that didn't come in about parking, didn't consider that part of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's something we could, talk with them about.
Okay.
Okay, and we mentioned earlier, if there was someone here that was at the meeting, that's, in the community, okay, and if you could come up and we'll let you speak and you can give us your thoughts on it,
Sure.
name, address, and,
Kelly Butler, 2111 Trout Trail in Murfreesboro.
okay?
We have met with Paul several times, and he has been very helpful working with the community, but we do still have a few things on our list. I want to speak on the curbing. There is parking there now. They don't stay on the road, so the width of the road doesn't really matter. They go off into the grass. So one of the things that we did mention was possibly some curbing. That really wasn't mentioned in this discussion. That would prevent the overnight parking problems that we're having now. The dock orientation was something else. We didn't really come to an agreement on that yet, but that in combination with the buffers, a 50-foot was agreed upon. We asked any homes that were within 1,000 feet, so anyone that was notified of the development. So within 1,000 feet of the development, if they're within 1,000 feet of the parking lot or a building, is what we were asking for the additional buffer to 100 feet.
And they've agreed to that.
Yeah, it's on this plan.
Right,
Okay.
they've agreed to that.
That's not something that we had talked about in person, but about it agreeing upon, so I hadn't seen that. But a lot of that had to do with, again, more of the east side. We haven't really spoken to a lot of the people that are, right here in this section. We have spoken to several of the neighbors that are on the south side of Mona Road, that they have just kind of shown up to the meetings for this. They were participants in earlier with Pantonia, back in 2022, that they've been approached regarding this sewer issue since then. So a lot of those families, this has been going on for a really long time, and they had a lot of their family farms kind of separated and taken and cut in half when 840 came through. So those folks really, I think they've kind of given up. But they were not notified because they're not within the 1,000 feet of the development. So they've just kind of jumped on.
From your perspective, Kelly, do you feel like there's been a lot of ground closed up? I mean, do you feel like there's been a lot of agreement
Yes,
taking place between the developer and you? And your
absolutely.
neighbors? That was the reason I asked the question.
Absolutely. They have, well, every time we have proposed something to them, we have gone back and forth. They have had several community meetings and have been very open to hearing our concerns throughout.
Okay.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I need to say this to be clear, whichever way the recommendation goes tonight to council, the things that we have in front of us is what would be agreed upon. There would not be any other involvement as far as buffering or anything in that matter, in which there would have to be a separate side agreement between neighbors and the developer. We've gotten into situations before where that's kind of been ambiguous, and it's led to lots of issues. So I want to make sure that from a commission standpoint, you know, when we're making the approval, we're covering what is approved to, or not approved to send to council for the final vote. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve with staff comments excluding number 16, which is the comments related to the shoulder. But I would also like to add that no truck traffic would be allowed south of the complex on Mona Road. That the interior road will be completed as part of the Phase 3 build-out, and that 100 feet buffer for any home that is within 1,000 feet of the complex.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I want to ask council, have they signed, do we have a signed agreement yet? I don't think we do we?
No, we're still waiting on the CUD.
And when would that happen to take place?
Well, they meet on the
It's CUD,
18th,
so
but I've
there's-
not seen an agreement yet. But for the actual items related to the town, those have been in agreement, but we're
So
just
it's
waiting
county.
on CUD.
Okay. Motions and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose because the agreement's not signed yet.
Okay, so one no. Okay. All right, that concludes old business. We'll move on to new business. We have an annexation zoning and plan of service request. Kevin, item number 1 under that Hamilton Development LLC has been withdrawn.
Number 1 has been withdrawn, yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to, I'll tell you what, let's let anybody that wants to leave, if you want to go ahead. Okay, under new business, agenda item number 2, Sunny Patel, 8216 Florence Road, annexation and PID zoning.
This is a request for annexation. A portion of this parcel is already within the town limits, was annexed several years ago when the gas station, bait shop, as the bait shop was torn down and a new gas station was built. This is to request to annex the remaining portion of the property, and zone it to PID, Planned Industrial District. Surrounding zoning in town is C2, which is the remainder of this property. It's RM in Rutherford County is the other zoning. The rest of the property around it is not within the town limits. The land use plan would support medium-density, single-family residential in this area. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Florence Road as a minor arterial. This portion of the property actually has no frontage on that road, as the Corps owns the area between this parcel and the road, the Corps of Engineers. The requested PID is for 34,771 square feet of conventional self-storage and covered outdoor storage in 9 buildings, and for an existing house on the property to be converted to the storage office with also some additional spaces in there for rent as well. Kind of some standard comments regarding the fire flow minimums of 1,500 GPM at 20 PSI. We had a few comments. The previous submittal had the buildings were proposed to be built with metal and like some sort of masonry siding. We did recommend it be constructed consistent with the materials that were on the convenience store. They have revised, the plans that are in front of you have been revised to reflect a kind of a mixture of brick on the conventional self-storage, brick on the 3 sides, and then metal on the side where the roll-up doors would be located. The covered just parking would just be the metal type carport kind of canopy building. So that has been somewhat addressed as far as at least from the visibility, the sides of that building, these buildings that will be visible. The fire department has some pretty serious concerns regarding the auto turn for this project and the ability for them to traverse this area if there was a need to. That's comment number 7, so that still needs to be addressed. Comment number 8, a fire hydrant is required within 400 feet of all buildings, and to do that, they would need to extend a water main across Florence Road. Currently, the nearest hydrant is directly across the street on the opposite side of Florence Road. So that one still needs to be addressed. We did ask them to show all the proposed utility locations on site as well. They had the previous plan had it shown a front setback. This portion of the property really doesn't have a front setback because it doesn't have any road frontage. So they've kind of clarified that. They've just removed that. Each side it has a 15-foot setback within the rear with I think it was 17 or something like that on the back portion, which would be the northern portion. So those were kind of our comments. Really, we can. Number 6 has for the most part been addressed, and then number 10 has been addressed. We would have the remaining comments still would be a part of it. So I think that's all that I've got at this time.
Kevin, to be clear, core property is on the west side parallel with Florence, is that correct?
Yeah, the core property is.
It's on both sides?
Here and here, on the north and west side. This is a private piece of property zoned RM in Rutherford County.
How is that accessed? Or where would it be accessed from?
It would be accessed to the south. There's a development south of here, and that's how it would be accessed here. Yeah. So yeah, the access to this would be through it's all the same parcel. It would be accessed through the parking lot of the gas station using the same access points that they have here, and then access to the north then.
You said it's all the same parcel, so there wouldn't have to be any kind of easement?
Correct. It's all owned by the same people, yeah.
Where specifically is the auto turn concerns? Is it more in the storage?
It's within, let me see if I can get to that sheet. I know there was some locations where it was crossing, kind of going over some curbs and getting really close to some of the buildings. I don't know exactly which one of those it was, but
Okay.
so
As far as fire department access, are we concerned with, I guess these are building numbers, correct? 82 and 86? 82 would be, or I'm sorry, 81 would be, or let me just ask the question, is 81 a closed building? Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah, closed storage? And
No, yeah.
yellow is
the
covered
red buildings
storage.
the red buildings are closed, the yellow buildings are open, yeah.
Are there different rules as far as fire suppression and response as far as an open versus closed building? I guess, is this something where they need access on both sides, or can it be achieved aerial, or what is, are we concerned with the auto turn within here?
Yeah. I don't know that I know for sure the answer to that question. I think certainly the main concern with those open buildings would be if there was a fire.
We're going to get an
in one-
expert up here.
In one of the vehicles themselves, yeah, or something like that.
In answer to the question, sir, there is no difference as far as the minimum requirements for closed or open, but it is a 150-foot reach for any point of the building from wherever we would have to place an apparatus.
Okay.
So, and I did not specifically see this. I know that Assistant Chief Lawrence looked at it. The concern with the auto turn was just that there were inches rather than feet of distance in the way it was designed, but he did not indicate that there was any building that was less than the 150, or excuse me, in excess of the 150 feet. So I don't think that part of it was an issue.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
the auto turn is workable?
As it was drawn, as I understand it, it's showing literally like an inch of a building, so it is a definite concern. It's, that's really not an allowable amount of gray area for us to make, because the lines.
To be able to turn a rig.
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
It would be super difficult, and that is assuming that there's not one obstacle at anywhere on the property at the time that a truck was trying to operate in that area.
It is a requirement of the condition anyway. Right, so.
Right.
Since that property between Florence Road and this property is core land, I know there's high likelihood that it may never develop. But what is normally the buffering requirements for industrial?
Buffering between industrial to residential is typically a type D, which is a berm, and with basically a type C buffer on top of a berm. It's basically what would be required typically.
So that's what I'm worried about is, the property to the, I guess, southwest, whatever that is, the Hollingshead property. I think it's all RM currently. I mean, it seems logical that someday it would develop as residential.
Right here, for sure. I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
And then the core property is all between it and Florence and behind it, right?
Right.
Right, that's all core, right?
This is all core, yes.
So we wouldn't need to require a buffer there because it's not technically zoned commercial or residential?
I don't know if it has a zoning assigned by the county or not. It's actually not within the town.
Is there any precedence for that land ever developing?
It would be up to the Corps of Engineers to sell it.
I mean, do they ever?
Good luck with that.
Have they ever
I don't
done
know
that?
I don't know that we've ever seen that, no. Since in the 50-plus years now that
I
that's
know a
been
lot
in
of people
place.
would like to buy some lakeside property, but they won't ever do it here. Right.
Okay.
What is the height of the building?
20, I think, is the maximum, the head shown. That would be the maximum height.
So the ones fronting Florence, are they one story or two?
It's all single story, yes. I'd say 20 feet's probably, some of those canopies would probably be the taller if they want to get something high enough for someone to park, a large motorhome underneath or something
I've
like
got
that.
a fifth wheel parked under one, and it's a 16-foot.
Right.
So still less than 20, but it would be right up there.
Well, you're not gonna have too many long vehicles if you've only got a 24-foot wide driveway trying to back or drive into these stalls. That's a little tight.
Yeah.
And not to mention, if the fire trucks can't even turn around there, I think this whole thing would need to be adjusted to fit.
I think that's our thinking as well. I mean, I think the layout of the buildings is gonna have to be adjusted some. Maybe a building
Yeah,
goes,
try to
gets
back a trailer
eliminated or
over a
something like
camper
that too, potentially.
So I'm hearing that with what we have in front of us right now, we've got issues with auto turn. And then there's also future considerations as far as a landscape buffer on the east side of this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, putting a buffer there now, I don't know how, you're buffering trees.
Well, I
So,
mean, that's my question.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
my, how do you do that if,
Yeah,
It's already there.
it's already, well,
Kind
yeah.
For now.
For now, right.
for now,
So is it
I don't think there's,
maintaining
yeah.
that, is it just maintaining the tree line that's there up to the required footage? Or,
Well,
but you mentioned berming it, so if it's
Yeah.
not done, and I get why it's not done on the front end, but let's just say that does develop, then what happens?
Right, I think that's something we'd have to look at for sure, just because it doesn't make sense to put a berm there now.
Right.
That property they could come in next week with a plan to develop it, or it may be 20 years, or something before it ever develops, you never know, so.
I guess we could put some language in there that in the event that property develops, they would add the appropriate buffer at that time. But I don't know.
Be ready to catch that.
Yeah, but if we don't make this developer do it, then it's gonna fall on the residential developer to have to do it.
Right.
That's my point.
And that's
So how do
not
you,
really
how
right
do you
either.
achieve that?
Yeah. And we could, I mean, typically, it's kind of who's there first, but at the same time, berming,
Well, the other problem is it's currently RM, but it may not stay that way.
right,
It could come in as industrial too, and then the
may.
berm wouldn't be required.
And I would say the developer later might be okay with it, but when you drive out there are homes, their porches back up to Steel Technologies.
Yeah.
And nobody buffered any of that.
Right.
So,
But that's been a sore spot, right? Right there,
Right.
right there next to, that we had one come
Right.
through that was denied basically because of that.
But it's a little clear when you're looking at the aerial that there are some, significant, it's the same amount of trees or types of trees that are on there. It just didn't end with that nice colored green area. You do have trees there, so.
there are some trees on this property, or it appears to be on that area.
And the drawing does show what appears to be some, a pretty good setback too, at least.
I think the
between
minimum they had shown was 15 feet, and that may be something maybe we have on that east side, maybe we want a 20-foot setback, not 15 feet, just from the standpoint of that gives you enough area to put a buffer there if you want to in the future.
I didn't realize it.
I need glasses.
So to that point, though, have they committed to keep the existing tree canopy on east that's shown as not part of the site plan?
There's nothing in here about that, maintaining that area, the trees. They're showing it as green area, so it could certainly be landscaped or buffering kept. But there's nothing in here that would indicate that they're requiring that of them. And again, most of that existing canopy, I think, is on the adjoining parcel. There is a little bit on there, certainly, but most of it is on that adjoining tract.
Oh, don't say that. So is one of the solutions we could consider is requiring did you mention a 20-foot side set?
I think a minimum of like a 20-foot side setback, 'cause that's what the buffer requirement would be.
Yeah.
If that was residential developed behind it, that's what they would be required to build. So at least the area would be there if it needed to be built. And maybe if it's developed and that whoever develops it becomes residential behind it, that it gets built on this property but by that developer or something. That could be what happens in the future. Because he doesn't want to take up his lots area or something for a buffer or, something like that.
So right now, we're sort of site planning and annexation request.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, but it is a PID though, right? So,
It is a PUD.
yeah,
So we'll get
that's-
oversight of site plan, but
Sure.
But I guess my concern is like the building placement, we've got some fire issues there.
yeah, there's a lot.
Are we if we were to approve tonight, we're approving building locations, right?
No.
I mean, I think you're
Yeah,
approving
it's
at
a-
least.
Oh,
not
for the
just
PID,
zoning.
yes, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be, and maybe it's a deferral for a month.
Well, that's where my mind is right now. That's
Have
where I
them
was
come
gonna
back
go with it. I think
with
it's
some
worth
revisions
limiting.
on the building layout and the auto turn. And maybe some, again, taking back the thoughts of a 20-foot setback there, not a 15 as well.
And to Ken's point earlier, Steve, you've got a fifth wheel. Is 24 feet between buildings okay to
It'd be
maneuver?
really tight.
It's really tight.
Yeah.
So
Mine's 37
just
feet.
for
My
the
camper's
developer,
37
I
feet
might
long.
ask them to look at 24 feet between buildings for the uncovered portion. This is where you're going to park boats and campers and things of that nature. Somebody's going to have to bring them in there and somebody's going to have to park them. And I just don't know if the width is there.
It'd be a challenge for a very experienced trailering individual. And
That would be Steve.
my experience is many of those out there.
Steve will just take it out.
Hey, I've hit something before.
Generally, I'm not opposed to this. And
It's in a good spot.
It's in a great spot, yeah, I think, because of the core property around it. This will never develop commercially. It just never will. I mean, you could have the best
It's hidden.
store in the world there, and people will never see it, no one won't know it's there. So it makes sense from that perspective, but I don't feel like we're there because with the fire department concerned about inches versus, feet, or maybe one building that's off or something like that, I have concerns that way. And also, concerns as far as, the distance in between the canopy buildings because of what would be required there. And I think that's actually something the developer and owner should take a look at and consider as they do this, because if they set something up where it's more prone to having somebody hit a building or hit another vehicle or something while they're trying to maneuver in there, it's a lot of pain from them financially in the long run.
Jeff, a deferral request would have to come from the applicant, is that right, or can we
No,
defer?
No, you can defer it. You can defer it for 30 days
In that case, I'll make a motion to defer
to the
for
next
30
meeting.
days.
Or to the next meeting,
Yeah,
maybe.
to the next meeting. And Kevin, we'd asked that you look at the auto turn, look at the building placement and the 20-foot buffer. And then, of course, anything else that comes up through your discussions.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to defer. Any further discussion? All those in favor of deferring until the next meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion has been deferred, or approved and deferred. Okay, now on to rezoning requests. The first is from Arsani Gobriel, 519 Noel Lane, rezoning R3 to C4.
Yeah, this is a request for a piece of property at the corner of Noel Lane and Old Nashville Highway. It's about 2,800ths of an acre. Requested to be rezoned from R3 to C4. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1, R3, R6, and PCD, which is across Noel Lane from this property, which is basically a C4 uses, but with the additional use of alcohol sales there in that PCD. The land use plan would support medium density single family in this area. Major thoroughfare plan does designate Old Nashville Highway as a minor arterial, and Noel Lane as a collector, and adequate right-of-way does exist for those two streets. I do not know what a proposed use. That was some of the questions we had received from some of the neighbors. Was regarding, is there a proposed use or something like that? At this time, I do not know a proposed use for this. They just did request a C4 zoning for it, which would be our neighborhood commercial. So,
The lot's probably big enough even to do C2 would not fit there. It's probably a big enough lot to accommodate a C2 zone.
potentially,
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting
C4
close.
is a softer use.
Right.
I know last month we had the applicant to come in and try to do one over there by 1 Mile Lane, and that was a C2 request.
Right.
And I think that's probably a big part of the reason it didn't grow legs, but I can see this being on a 5-lane road as a C4, or a busy road for that matter, so.
Well, surrounding zoning, that's a PCD immediately to the north and I guess west of that. And as I recall, the uses there are fairly, not 100% consistent with C4, are they not? Or am I thinking there's one C2 use in there?
The PCD that sits across the street is basically, I think it was originally zoned C4.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have the store that's in there that does sell alcohol and beer and tobacco store there. And so they came in and amended that and zoned it to a PCD to allow for that use, basically, instead of going for C2 zoning at that time. That's been many years ago.
And then we're C4 past that.
North of there is C4, yes. And as you go further south on Old Nashville Highway, when you get closer to Enon Springs Road, you've got some properties there. There's C4.
Which
as
would
well.
be the veterinarian.
It's that, well.
Oh, I'm sorry, south, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Karate place.
The karate, that area there. Now, across the street, that's actually a PCD as well, but it was more of a C4 type uses as well.
Let's do this, since there was some interest, let's talk about what some C4 uses.
Okay.
It's not a vape shop.
It would not be a vape shop.
It cannot be that.
It cannot be a vape shop or a convenience store.
Can't be
or
a gas station
or
or
gas
repair.
station. It cannot
Or
be
car
a
lot.
Yeah, it cannot be
Anything
a
like that.
fast food restaurant. Nothing like that. It could only be certainly any type of office type use could be there. You could have retail there, more of this neighborhood type scale retail typically. Again, no vape shops or anything like that. You could have a restaurant there, but it could not be one with a drive-through with the noise from a drive-through or anything like that. You know, your services like a nail salon, a hair salon, those kind of uses would certainly be allowed there. A dentist, doctor, attorney, real estate, you know, those kind of professional offices certainly could go there in a C4.
Okay.
I think this pretty much fits that area. I mean, C4 or R3 all up and down the road there. Obviously, I like C4 a lot better than the C2 options.
Right.
Or C5, so C4 is definitely the softer option. So I'll make a motion that we approve
I have a motion to approve.
with staff comments.
The rezoning request with staff comments. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
I'm a little unclear on what the impact's gonna be on the surrounding single-family residences and what the public utility would be of allowing the rezoning.
Well, of course, if the residential use is grandfathered, it can continue, but if it develops into a commercial use, they would have to be looking at a buffer between those two adjoining residential uses when it develops. They wouldn't have to do it today, but when it develops, they would have to do, and then the use changes. They would have to look at that buffer there.
Isn't our norm, though, when we do a rezoning like this, that we would ask for what the use is going to be?
When you
in
do
order
a
to
straight
assess
zone
the
like this,
impact?
when you do a straight zone like this, you really, you would be zoning it for any of those uses. I mean, certainly you could ask that question, but you really can't base your zoning This isn't a PUD.
It's
This
more,
is-
does the zoning fit the location
Right.
than anything else? And being on the highway, you might even see additional properties eventually along the highway do something similar to, but right now on a 5-lane road, so.
But aren't we basically breaking up that residential neighborhood?
If we were
and-
putting it
and
in the,
encouraging development to the, I guess it would be southeast?
Well, then you could probably make the argument that the person across the street that has the commercial complex there did that earlier.
Is that commercial behind there on the upper portion?
It's apartment complex.
Apartments?
Yeah, that's an apartment complex here, yeah. And then this is the commercial building.
I think if we were certainly talking about this being 3 or 4 homes down Knoll Lane, I think that's a different story, but being that this is on a 5-lane highway with similar zoning, and knowing that commercial, C4 is going to allow neighborhood-friendly type a development, and knowing that we have buffers in regulations in effect, then I don't see that I don't know that it necessarily encourages anything else, but, certainly if we were looking at any lots that proceeded down Noel or even, somewhere else, I mean, we can make a decision at that point, but that's,
Well, the houses directly south of this piece of property all actually back up to Old National Highway.
yeah.
So their road frontage is on the court. So it would not logically stretch south on that side anyway. And then catty corner across is also commercial. That's where that PUD is.
That's that whole office complex across the street.
Well, I guess just the question is, do you draw the line at Noel Lane, or do you let it shift to the south?
I think each one stands on their own.
Yeah.
right? So,
I think it being Old Nashville Highway, it kind of lends itself to commercial C4 development along Old Nashville Highway.
When it comes time for getting a building permit, would the access to this lot then be off of Old Nashville Highway or Noel?
We would have to look at that when their site plan comes in, yeah. The existing access is Noel, so,
Old Nashville Highway would be, that's a state road. So for them to get that, I
It's-
think
it's-
TDOT.
no, it's
Oh,
not.
it's not, it's right, we took it
it's
back.
not, it's not a state road.
That's right.
So it would be something we would just have to review the site plan when it comes in. We want to be sure the distance from the Noel Lane intersection, we may want to keep it on Noel Lane, just from the standpoint of conflicts along Old Nashville there. And depending on what the use is, it might lend itself to just, if it's a low traffic use, if it's an office of some type or something like that, might
They'd
make
have to
sense.
Police their parking, all that would have to come in with a site plan. So if they turning it into a small office or something like that, handicap parking, things of that nature would have to be looked at.
On a C4, how tall could an office building be?
What is it?
Up
Max
against
height in
residential.
C4? Honestly, I think it's 25? I think it's 2 stories, the max
Stop it.
height, I think in C4, I think. Maybe it's 30. I don't have it in my brain right quick. Should Mitchell looking it up, looks like. But
I would think a feature for the neighbor next door if they get a tall building built up right next to it.
Well, and that's site plan. That's where you address it at site plan.
Mitch, we're waiting. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Don't wait on me.
I saw your fingers over there doing this.
Anxiously trying to find it.
yeah, I should have thought about that before, I can't recall. I looked it up before I came in here.
I think we have a motion. Is that
Yeah, we do have a motion and a second, and I'm not sure that we're waiting on Mitch at this point or not. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Anything else? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. 2 noes. Okay, next on the agenda, under rezoning request, Highgate HH Development, Blair Road, Portico Place, rezoning C2 to add the H2 overlay. Kevin, it's my understanding that the developer has asked for deferral on this.
That is right. They have requested that you all defer this till the next meeting.
Okay, any discussion from the commission on this? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to defer to the next meeting.
I have a motion to defer until the next meeting. Do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of deferring this agenda item until the next meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This has been deferred to the next meeting. Next, under rezoning request, James and Angela Schmidt, 1205 Rock Springs Road, rezoning R3 to C4.
Yeah, this is a request to rezone this piece of property from R3 to C4. It's about 7,207 acres. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R3, C2, and C4. The land use plan for this area, on this side, just this, as the parcels at front, Rock Springs Road, on this side of Rock Springs Road, does fall within our Sam Ridley character area, which would support a combination of retail uses and services that kind of, serve both local and regional customers. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Rock Springs Road as a collector, and there's approximately 88 feet of right-of-way there in front of this parcel, so it certainly it meets our right-of-way requirements. Just for information, the rear, about 70 feet or so of this property on the eastern boundary, and it goes to about 120 feet on the western boundary, does lie within the floodway, and about 15 feet of that property beyond the floodway does lie within the 100-year floodplain, which does still leave about 150 feet in depth on the western boundary and 180 feet on the eastern boundary outside of that flood hazard area. So there's still plenty of room there for obviously the home that's already there, as well as a future commercial, any commercial building that could be built there as well. Certainly there's adequate area to develop this property commercial, but I did want to bring that to everyone's attention. All the parcels basically of south of, not all of the parcels, most of the parcels south of Rock Springs Road through that area have been rezoned, primarily C4. At the intersection with Old Nashville Highway, there's one or maybe two that have a C2 zoning. And so this would be consistent with that as well, so.
Yeah, at the corner of Spring Hill, I believe that's I think it's more medical office.
That's a medical office building.
And then
yes.
next to that, we have, is that the hair salon with the
There's a hair
contractor's
salon in that
office?
building and some other things as well, I think.
And then as you move up, there's a couple of, I think there's an insurance agent's office and
And some more.
a couple other
as you go-
things, and across the
there's-
street, this is facing the back of
It's Home Depot.
Home Depot.
Correct.
Then you've got the Live Away and Storage, and then Champy's. And then on the corner of Spring Hill, on the opposite side, is a Fast Clinic.
It's a health clinic, yeah.
Health clinic, yeah,
Yeah.
urgent care. And we're seeing more development along Rock Springs in this area, are we not? Where we're seeing medical office, some C2.
But some C2, we've got a couple gas stations that were built further
Yeah.
as you get closer to the,
And on the Home
to the
Depot,
hospital.
yeah, on the opposite side,
Right.
yeah.
Chairman, before you call for any kind of discussion, I'm going to stay out of this. These are good friends of mine. They've asked me to potentially help them do something with that property at a later time.
Okay,
So I just feel like I need to abstain.
okay, so if you'll mark as not participating or voting.
I think these are the last two residential lots along that whole stretch right there.
It
Yeah.
is. And I've been contacted by representatives from the property to the east, and we're probably going to see that one pretty soon.
Okay. Any other questions for Kevin or staff concerning this rezoning request? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve R3 to C4
With staff comments?
with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments, so I have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Okay. We're now on to preliminary plats, beginning with Gamble Oaks subdivision, Gamble Lane at Elway Court, owner, developer Odessa Luis Settles, and Hensley Civil LLC.
Yeah, this is the preliminary plat for the Gamble Oaks subdivision. This is a PRD that was approved some time ago and then recently was revised. And so this is just the preliminary plat for this PRD. It's 23 lots, 6.77 acres. They're on Gamble Lane. The several standard comments, really 1 through 7, would all remain. Comment number 8 regarding the roadway names, we do have that 911 approval, so we can remove comment 8. Comment 9 was a comment from the Public Works Stormwater Department. I want to keep that one. They haven't had a chance to review that yet. I think the developer and the engineer are certainly agreeable to it, but we want to keep that one. Comment number 10 regarding the fire hydrant being shown across the road there that does provide coverage to some of those lots that do front Gamble Lane. That has been addressed and can be removed. We did ask for an additional 5-foot side setback from the utility and drainage easements on those lots, and that has been addressed. In fact, I think one of the easements has been removed, so we removed at least one of those. But anyway, the setbacks are there that are needed. And then the cul-de-sac at the end of Oak Grove Circle, which I think that road name has ended up being changed, because that road name wasn't approved. But it's the cul-de-sac that's within the development. The fire code requirements did change, and so with their last sub-reg approval, and so this one, they did have to revise that to meet the new requirements in that regard, and so that has been done, can be removed. And then comment number 13 is really a standard comment regarding the water and sewer construction plans. We would need to keep that comment. So we can remove 8, 10, 11, 12, and with those remaining comments, we would recommend this to you.
Okay. Questions for staff concerning this?
Is this consistent with our prior approvals?
Yes.
Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with staff
I have a
comments.
motion to approve with staff comments from Charles. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We're now on to our second preliminary plat. This is Hidden Hills, Section 7, West Termini of Tamlin Avenue, Burgundy Drive, and Bonifay Drive, owner, developer, open land community.
Yeah, this is the preliminary plat for Hidden Hills, Section 7. We saw a sketch plat of this a few months ago. So this will be the preliminary plat. It's 59 lots, 23.2 acres in an R3 zone. Several standard comments, really 1 through 9, all need to remain. Comment number 10 and 11 are kind of related to one another. There's some significant topo changes on this property, which is going to result in some significant roadway cuts and some sewer lines that are proposed to be fairly deep. And so those are some things that we need to work through with the engineer. I do want to point those out. So we want to keep those comments, just point those out to you, that we'll be working with them as they work through the construction plans on this project to make those, make sure they meet all of our requirements. Number 12 was a comment from the Stormwater Department again, just will be some existing storm discharge already on this property because of the topo changes, but anything new, to make sure that there's some existing storm infrastructure is adequate to meet those discharges. So I want to keep comment 12. Comment number 13 has been addressed. The plat has shown there's some existing, kind of some temporary turnarounds, and actually it's existing right-of-way at the end of Bonifay. It's going to be, it's essentially going away and becoming just a connector road through there. And so some of those have been shown as still being owned by the previous owner of this property. And so that has been cleared up, and so comment 13 can be removed. Comment number 14 is a relatively standard comment regarding the roadway lighting plan. That typically comes in with the construction plan, so we want to be sure we get that as well. So basically, with the removal of comment 13, staff would recommend this to you.
Questions for Kevin on this?
Is this consistent with our prior approvals?
Yes.
Other questions or discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion's approved. We're now on to final plats, first being Briley Downs, Section 1, Phase 1, Rocky Fork, Amelville Road, owner, developer, South Coast DFH, Nashville, LLC.
Yes, this is, the next three are all related to the same development, just different phases. This is one that the PRD was amended, and then the plat was reapproved. The preliminary plat was reapproved last month, and so now they're asking, bringing the final plats in for these three phases. So the first one, Barley Downs, Section 1, Phase 1, this is 33 lots, 11.77 acres. In the Barley Downs PRD. The first five items really are kind of standard comments that we need to remain. Comment number 6 is something that the Utilities Department wanted to take a look at regarding the gas line. It wasn't shown in the correct place, and so we asked them to make sure that was placed or shown correctly. We'd ask for a minimum pad elevation for the mail kiosk, and because it's close to the floodplain area that's on this property. And then comment number 8, the parking spaces, those are in some of the common areas. Those spaces are required to be 19 by 9 feet. Just ask them to show that. Really needs to make sure they're labeled to that, and so they're meeting that. Ensure all drainage easements are at least 20 feet wide. And then comment number 10 is with CUD, and they're reviewing that, and that was our comments. We want to keep that one as well. So really, with the remaining comments, staff would recommend approval.
Okay. Turn to Kevin on this. Do you have any questions?
Once again, these were clients of mine some time ago, so each section of this 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to abstain from.
Okay.
Was this previously approved PRD?
Yeah, this was a previously approved PRD, and then it did get amended because they incorporated a little bit of the adjoining track into it. This is consistent with the most recently approved PRD.
Under the old PRD requirements?
Under the old requirements, that's correct, yes. Because it was there, and they were under construction and everything before we ever changed the requirements. They were vested.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Move to approve the staff comments.
A motion to approve the staff comments from Matt. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And one abstention. Next, we have Raleigh Downs, Section 1, Phase 3, Rocky Fork, Amelville Road, owner, developer, South Coast DFH, Nashville, LLC.
Yeah, this phase, this is 29 lots, 6.48 acres. Again, several standard comments. There are kind of similar to what the previous one had there. Really 1 through 5. Again, the same comment regarding the gas line there and the drainage easements, and then CUD's comment as well. So those remaining 8 comments, with those comments, staff would recommend approval.
Questions or comments?
Motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion's approved. Next, we're on to Bradley Downs, Section 1, Phase 4, Rocky Fork, Almaville Road, owner, developer, South Coast DFH, Nashville LLC.
Yeah, this phase is 16 lots, 5.67 acres. Again, just, it's all part of the same development there. All the standard comments, 1 through 5, would need to remain, and then the other comments, again, similar comment on the gas line. We'd ask for a dimension, as this phase does border Briley Road, and so we ask for a dimension for the right-of-way dedication there along that of at least 25 feet from the center line. And again, the same comment regarding the drainage easements in the plat with CUD, so with those 9 comments, staff would recommend approval.
Once again, consistent with
Consistent with the most recently approved PRD, yes, sir.
and met all the requirements as far as regulations and ordinances at that time.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with staff comments.
Motion to approve with staff comments from Selena. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. We're now on to Fox Meadows, Phase 1, Lee Road and Rocky Fork Road, owner, developer, Surrey Homes LLC.
Yeah, this is the Phase 1 final plat. It's 40 lots, 15.05 acres. This is for the Fox Meadows development. The first 5 comments there are all standard comments and would need to remain. Comment number 6, there were some easements there on some of these lots that are kind of oddly shaped or angled and that sort of thing. So we just asked for some additional dimensions and labeling on those to be sure, you know, when the home's being built or when a homeowner is looking to build a shed or something, that we have good dimensions on those easements for them. So we can remove the last comment under that, or the last sentence rather, under that comment. And they did correct, I think, lot 37 there, so we still need 36, 38, 39, 75, and 79 still need some dimensions on there. So just want to keep that with that put as amended. Comment number 7 can be removed. They've taken care of that issue. Number 8, regarding the sewer line next to lot 84, I want Mr. Parker or someone in the utilities to take a look at that, because they need to be sure that's correct. Or that's who had made the comment. I want to be sure they take a look at it. So we want to keep that. Comment number 9, the landscape buffer, the drainage easements have been separated now, so we don't have them overlapping anymore. So we can remove comment 9. Comment number 10, couple of the amenities had already been shown, but part of that was also there's a walking trail that was needed to be shown, and that has been taken care of, so we can remove comment 10. Comment number 11, there is a floodplain on this property, and that boundary is being revised as per the grading plan and revised, or the floodplain development permit. And so they asked them to show that new floodplain boundary, and so that's been done, so we can remove comment 11. Comments 12 and 13 were CUD comments, so I want to keep them. So we can remove 7, 9, 10, 11, and then we'll tweak comment number 6. And with that, staff would recommend approval.
Questions for Kevin concerning this?
Kevin, is there the 2 roads that go out on either side of the mail kiosks? Is there already a development underway on that side? I forget.
No, there's not. In fact, I think there's actually a future phase maybe of this project as well. Eventually, the property to the west of this property is actually been purchased by the school board for the school.
Right.
So.
Okay. And this was a previously approved PRD under the old regs?
That's correct.
Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the staff
I
comments.
have a motion to approve the staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We're now on to site plans, with the first being Bailey Equipment and Intralogistics, Tridon Drive, owner-developer Caravan Ventures, LLC. And Vince, you're up.
Yes. Before I start, the max height in C4 is 35 feet. I know some of you might have been wondering still, so 35 feet for C4 development.
We need to stretch or warm up any, or you good?
No, we're getting loose. We're good.
So is that essentially 3 stories? Is that what that is?
Basically, yeah,
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah. So, on this item here, this is a site plan to develop a 48,250 square foot warehouse and office building on Trident Drive. 45,000 square feet of that building would be devoted to warehouse space, with the remaining 3,250 square feet for office. The property was rezoned from C2 to I1 in March 2025 for the user's occupancy on this property. A single access point would be provided off of Trident Drive. Vehicular use area provided is 1.25 acres. That does require 4,350 square feet of landscaping. Updated numbers have been provided since packets went out, so they are now providing for 10,500 square feet, meeting and exceeding our requirements. Parking required is 30 spaces, and they're showing for 40. And that does require 2 handicap stalls, which they are now showing. Landscape plan has been revised since packets went out last week again. The landscape plan has been quite dramatically redesigned here, so the plan now does show London plane trees, which are a sycamore variety, along I-24, and oak trees shown within landscape islands in the parking lot. Magnolia trees are shown within the right-of-way on Trident Drive and will have to be relocated, as we do not allow any landscaping within the right-of-way. Shrubbery, it does need to be kept away, at least 10 feet away from any utility lines, shrubbery and trees for that matter. And as is shown, the landscape plan does not meet design review pertaining to streetscaping requirements mainly. Architectural elevations show the building to be finished with various metals, wood siding, and glass. The property is zoned industrial, which does allow for the use of metal as a primary material when it is not visible from an arterial street. However, this building will have visibility from I-24 and Olmaville Road. As a result, the building will be required to meet design review requirement of 75% minimum primary materials on all wall elevations. These primary materials may consist of brick, stone, glass glazing, or tilt panel concrete. Since this is an industrial district, tilt panel is allowed as a primary material. As presented, the elevations do not meet design review. Standard comments 1 through 7 all remain, and staff comment 1 regarding the architectural elevations not meeting design review. We do need them to revise those elevations to meet design review. Comment number 2 was a utilities comment asking them to show a 1,500 gallon oil water separator. Comment 3 and 4 are both stormwater comments that will remain, and let stormwater review those at a later date. Comment number 5 is from our fire department. They did have a requirement that they are to access within 150 feet from all points of the building, as mentioned earlier in one of the other items for the storage units. So really the issue is the south side of the building, which if you're looking at the picture is on the right side. There is no apparatus way to get around that side of the building, and it does exceed the 150 foot from each parking lot area. So fire department does need to reach all points of the building at least 150 foot. We had another comment within that comment that a fire hydrant is required within 400 feet of all parts of the building. They have done that, so that part of the comment can be removed. And then the last part of it, that a turnaround is required at the back of the building. That is the rear part of the building that is up against I-24. As it's shown, it exceeds 150 foot. 150 foot is the length in which the fire department does require a turnaround, whether it be a hammerhead or cul-de-sac. So they do need to show that at the rear of the building. And then, informational part, the last part of that comment, there's a gate to get to the back part of the building. Fire department just requires that to be ANSI approved. So that part is more informational, but 4 comments in one more or less. The fire hydrant is the part that can be removed though at this time. Comment number 6, the landscaping does not meet design review, and we do ask them to show appropriate streetscaping along Trident Drive and I-24. Last part of the comment, the percentage requirement was not being met, but they are meeting that now. Comment number 7, grass was being counted towards the overall landscaping percentage, which is not allowed per design review, so they have addressed that accordingly, so comment number 7 can be removed. Number 8, the ADA parking spaces were not shown last week when packets went out. They are now being shown, so that can be removed. Comments number 9 and 10 are both utility department's comments to be reviewed later and will remain. And then one additional comment on this is that we do ask that they provide architectural elevations for the dumpster enclosure. And with that, staff does recommend deferral, just to allow the applicant more time to address staff comments as needed. The applicant is here tonight and would like to address you if you do have any questions or concerns on this.
The representative here is here present, and I'd like to come up and speak on all of that. Great. Your name and address, please.
Good evening, Justin Bailey, 2023 Benjamin Street, Nashville, Tennessee.
Taylor Slay, 462 Chinook Drive, Antioch, Tennessee.
Keep this brief. I do have some images, if helpful, I could pass around. I am the owner and president of Caravan Adventures in Bailey. We are a forklift dealership headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. We've been around for 76 years now, since my grandfather founded it. We're a forklift dealership, intralogistics engineering firm, and what we're doing is rolling up 2 existing locations and really betting the house on Smyrna. So we're taking what we have in Laverne and a large part of our Nashville operation and moving it here and building a flagship. This will be the first building we've built in 30 years. So for me, it's a legacy project. The last one was built when I was about 9 years old. My son's now 2. And so I know now, like, he only cares about the sounds, the fun sounds the forklifts make. But someday he's going to care how this building looks. And so I've spent a lot of time trying to get this just right. I looked at old drawings my grandfather had done. I spent a lot of time looking around the region, taking photos, working with Taylor, the engineer, the architect, to get it right. So this was an intentional choice to use the metal. It was an aesthetic choice and a functional choice. And our perspective is that in reviewing the design review manual, that this actually does meet the intent behind design review. Specifically, what I noticed when I was reviewing it was that it says the purpose is to enhance character, foster attractiveness and functionality, and raise the level of design expectations. I believe we have done that with this design. It also says buildings should be viewed in context of surrounding structures, and materials compatible with adjacent buildings are required. And just down Trident Drive, there is an all-metal building. Across I-24, there is an all-metal building. So we feel this design is not only appropriate, functional, and I think very attractive, but it also is consistent with context. Additionally, the manual does allow the commission to vary materials when doing so supports its intent. There are, of course, cost and functionality concerns. I feel this is an onerous burden of cost that accomplishes nothing for the community, nothing for aesthetics, and nothing for function. I'd rather invest that in making the landscaping even well beyond the requirements I just heard about, bringing in beautiful natural trees and so on, and more importantly, hiring people here in Smyrna. So in short, all comments are addressed except for we'll address the landscaping. We're asking that this be approved as is, and I appreciate your support and your service to the community. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You weren't speaking. You were just.
I'm here to answer questions if you have any.
All right. Any questions from the commission concerning to the applicant here?
In the comments of the metal, I don't think this is what we've seen in typical, just basic industrial type metal. These are the new, I assume they're Kynar, as far as the coatings that are on here?
Something like that, yes. So the front part of the building would be a more upgraded architectural metal panel, so it is quite a bit nicer than your standard industrial metal siding.
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing this type of metal on a lot more commercial buildings, you know, that are going for that more modern, higher end?
But it's still metal.
It's still metal, yeah. Is it metal where the Bailey sign is at?
What we had planned for that was, it would probably be a metal, but it looks like wood.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Mitch, we heard portions of, I guess, from ordinances and regs, but we're still missing the section concerning when facing arterials, are we not?
Yes, this building will be visible from I-24 exit ramp, and then we believe, looking at street view, it will be visible from Oliver Road as well, so hence those additional requirements.
And I agree that they just took a lot of time and effort and made the front of the building look really nice. I think as a metal building goes, I mean, it's probably one of the nicest ones I've seen. I guess our main concern is really more that side and rear. If you look at the rear of the building, which is going to be facing directly to the I-24, it's pretty much just a metal wall with a couple of pedestrian doors on it. I mean, I think that's where our concern was more on that than on the side that faces Tridon probably, so.
I guess this is my concern, and maybe even a follow-up to something Ken kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. First of all, we've had several projects in here where we had requests to make exceptions to the design review, and we were consistently saying no, because we've worked really hard as far as design review goes. And I realize, and this is kind of speaking to Ken, that in other instances and things that were previously built and approved, it was under a different set of regs and ordinances at that time, and the things that were built did meet those. But as we're seeing in not only commercial, but within residential and whatnot, we've asked for a better product and materials that are going to stand the test of time. And I know you spoke about your 2-year-old. I think it's a fantastic design. I think it's in the right location. My concern is it doesn't meet design review number 1, and I do have concerns as far as the comments from the fire department.
I think recently we've had to say no to some people we really wanted to see them here. And the only reason we did is to remain consistent with what we set out as design review. I compliment the building. It's a very attractive building. But I think if we bend for one, we're setting a precedent where we start having to do that for everybody that comes in here. So I hope you understand, at least that's my take, sounds like it's the chairman's take, that as beautiful as it is, we've got requirements, we've got ordinances, and we try to hold true to those. We try to make sure much like you wanted to put together a nice-looking building, we want to put together a nice-looking view from our community. So it's the same thing, really. We all want the same thing, but we need to meet that design review, in my opinion. I know staff recommended a deferral as well with some fire department issues and things like that. So that's kind of where I stand. I do appreciate the history of it and the background with your family. I truly do. I'm a little older than you, and I got kids older than you, but I try to do the same thing for my children. So I hope you respect that from my perspective anyway. We'll let the body decide.
Yeah, I think, we spent, I can't tell you how many hours now in joint planning and council sessions to work out PUD requirements, design requirements, and what the council and ultimately what the people of Smyrna want to see, and what kind of feedback we've gotten from those community meetings that we've had. And so a lot of these designs this design review has been built based on feedback directly from the community and from that council. And, one of the things that we've always tried to do, to your point, Mark, is stay consistent.
As I recall, when we had this discussion about zoning this differently, we had a council member or so that wanted to keep it commercial.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to approve what you're going to try to do there.
Yep, that's right. Well, now, it makes me think about, the fast food restaurant that had some of some similar type, I guess, arguments that you've presented. This was their brand, this is what they've done everywhere in the country, we were the only one that has had this requirement, all of those kind of conversations. And again, for the sake of staying consistent, we've held them to that design standard too. And I think that would be, it would be bad for us to make those changes now. Now, just to be clear for that one, I found out they also had issues in Mount Juliet, but that's a different conversation. So apparently, we're not the only ones.
Other discussion? If this is something that you feel like you could work with staff and come to an agreement, then I would be in favor of a deferral. I mean, it's up to the commission to make that, motion if you were so inclined. The other option would be a denial.
So we think.
So we think.
Yeah.
Well, or it
Based
could
on
be,
discussion.
well, or it could be approval, yeah.
Right. So based on our discussions, it sounds like that's the direction we're heading.
But if it's something where you think you can work with staff and would like us to reconsider in a month, regardless of if you felt a deferral was appropriate, we could consider that.
Yeah, obviously our preference is approval, but in the absence of that, we would prefer a deferral and work with staff and try to get this over the line.
And again, and to Mark's point, I don't have a motion out here yet, but just kind of taking the temperature of what's being said, I can kind of see where we're heading, or think I can see where we're heading with this. And if there was an opportunity to work out some of the items here, I'd certainly like to see the process continue to go forward.
And I do wish the metal was, as proposed, met our design review. It just simply does not. It may be a discussion in our next roundtable that we have to have this discussion.
Certainly something we could do that, certainly.
It looks great. To Ken's point, I think it looks really good. The metal looks good, but it does not meet what we currently have as an ordinance.
Question for you, Mitch. If the quantity of metal was changed not from the front, but the backs and the sides, would that then meet design review?
Was it
As far as the
75%?
site-
It's 75%, yeah.
It's gotta be 75%.
I mean, I think certainly the sides and rear is our biggest concern. I think the visibility from Allenville is probably still, you have some visibility there. You do have the speedway and whatnot there too, depending on where you're at on Lee Victory, Nissan Drive rather, whatever it's named there, but, so.
Amwell Road, you forgot Amwell Road.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so certainly the visibility from I-24 is our biggest concern, which is probably going to be primarily the back and sides, for sure.
But I think to your question is, there is a way to use metal as an accent.
Sure.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to defer until our next meeting, based on some of the staff comments not being met.
Okay, I have a motion to defer to the next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second. Charles can have it.
Is it Charles or Ken?
Ken.
I think it was
Ken,
Ken,
sorry.
yeah.
I just heard somebody down there.
Down here somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, motion and second to defer. Any further discussion? All those in favor of deferring to the next meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion's been deferred. Next, we're on to Newberry Retail Lot 2, 3450 Elmore Road. Owner, developer, Blue Circle Ventures LLC.
This is a second part of the Newberry PUD commercial tract. This is a 10,725 square foot retail restaurant commercial building. The development would be constructed on the same parcel as the previously approved indoor pickleball courts. The site would have access points provided off of Malbec Drive and Benora Drive. The commercial tract does allow for C4 uses, and this development would permit for 4,500 square feet of restaurant space, with the remainder being used for retail uses. Vehicular use area on the site is 0.62 acre, which does require 2,698 square feet of landscaping. The applicant is proposing for 4,000 square feet. Park required is 70 spaces, they're showing for 70 spaces, and handicap requirement of 3, and then they are now showing for 3 as well. Landscape plan shows street trees along Glenora Drive and Malbec Drive with a variety of shrubbery planted between the street trees. Trees are also shown within landscape islands, and additional shrubbery is located at the base of the front of the building and surrounding the dumpster enclosure. Landscaping shown along Olneyville Road consists of shrubbery without street trees, which are a requirement of design review. And architectural elevations show the building to be finished with all primary materials, including brick, stone, glass, and glazing, and an accent material metal, which is to be used as cornice. These materials are to be used in all 4 wall elevations, and it does meet design review as presented. Standard comments 1 through 7 all remain. Staff comment 1 was regarding the stormwater treatment on site. That comment will remain. Comment number 2, regarding the landscaping, we asked them to provide streetscaping on all 3 road frontages, as the submitted landscape plan does not meet design review. They need to add street trees on Olneyville Road, and then the trees that are shown do need to be spaced no more than 40 foot on center apart from each other. Comment number 3, regarding the handicap parking stalls, has been addressed. Comments number 4 and 5 are CUD, as this is within CUD's service area. And then one additional staff comment on this. There is plans based on the site plan to subdivide these tracks off the way it is shown on the site plan. Parking space and a half is being cut off and on the adjacent tract, so after the proposed plat line is drawn, you would then have a deficiency of parking spaces as required per the zoning ordinance. So we do ask that they somehow shift to make sure all 70 parking spaces are shown on this prospective parcel whenever they get to the point of subdividing it in the future. So that is the extra comment to be added with that, and comment number 3 can be removed. With that, staff does recommend approval.
Questions for Mitch on this?
I just got a question to Jeff. Based on the amount of certain types of businesses that we can watch go into most of these retail, do we have any control over removing any of those as potential tenants?
Not sure if I know it.
Vape shops?
This particular PCD or PUD was C4 uses, so they couldn't go in this one.
Okay.
Specifically, at least.
Okay.
Per the PUD.
We'll put that in your pipe and smoke it for later, because it's going to continue to come up.
As we have it right now, we couldn't remove one. You know, if we put something in place, which I'd have to see what that is. I don't agree with what I've seen some jurisdictions do so far that would have muster to a challenge, but we'll look at that.
I know you need more work to do. You sit back there with your twiddling your thumbs.
That's right. I'll ponder on this issue.
Yeah, thank you.
Tonight, probably.
That's right. Send an email forthcoming.
So, obviously, there's the 2 roads that provide access to this are part of the LF development. So there is no direct access to Admiral Road from this property, that's right?
That's correct.
Could you pronounce that road to the north?
I was waiting for somebody to
Beau Noir?
Beau Noir, maybe? I would guess Beau Noir.
It's
Depends
good.
if it's southern or not.
It's good night. Or
So
good-
is the reason for the entrance there to provide access to the pickleball court? Is that the theory?
I mean, there is, yeah, that would be the access, there would be the one access there off of Beau Noir, which would be this pride track and the pickleball, and then the future other track, whatever ends up being on that track as well. So there'd be 2 accesses for all 3 parcels. It would be the eventual plan if it's divided the way they've got it shown.
To confirm, this was brought in as part of this overall development that was it a PRD?
It was a PUD.
Yeah, PUD, okay.
There's commercial, there's townhomes, there's single family, there's duplex.
Was that proposed to C2 initially? Do you recall?
It may have been potentially.
That's why I thought it was C2.
It may have been, but it was limited to C4.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with staff comments.
motion to approve.
I'll second it.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the staff comments. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Next, and I believe last under site plans, Stephen Smyrna Airport Hangar Phase 2, 1290 Thunderbird Drive, owner developer, Smyrna Rutherford County Airport Authority, Robot.
Yeah, this is a site plan for an addition onto Stevens Aerospace building, the second phase of the development at 1290 Thunderbird Drive. It does have access to the airport. The phase is to be used as a maintenance hangar and will be 47,300 square feet. Included with this building addition will be an addition to the existing parking lot and a second fire lane access. Vehicular use area on the site, 0.35 of an acre to be added, and that does require 1,219 square feet of landscaping. Applicant is showing for 2,004 square feet, meeting our requirements. Total parking required is 47 new spaces, and they're showing 47, and that does require 5 total handicap parking stalls for the entire development, and they are showing for all 5. The landscape plan shows 3 landscape islands with new parking addition to have oak trees and grasses with shrubs. At the front of the base of the building with the in addition is shown to have shrubbery. Additional landscaping is shown along the new parking lot to match the existing landscape design. At this time, landscape plan does meet design review, contrary to when packets went out last week. Architectural elevations show the building to be finished with primarily metal and small portion of the base with block. Proposed elevations will match the existing building on site and meets design review. Standard comments 1 through 7 all remain. Comment number 1 is pertaining to the landscaping requirement of 8%, not 5% as was previously shown. They are now meeting that. So comment number 1 can be removed. Comment number 2 is from our fire department regarding the auto turn. A portion of the site internal is not being met with the revised auto turn. The truck cannot go over any kind of curbing or enter any parking stalls, which it is currently being shown to do. So we just need them to widen spaces a little bit there to allow the fire truck to make the turn adequately. And comment number 3, from our utilities department to provide sewer and water construction plans. Comment 1 has been addressed from the staff, and comment 2, 3 is all that remained, but with that, staff does recommend approval.
That's it.
Question for Rich on this? I've got a more of a curiosity question, being it's a hangar, traditionally they're all metal. I believe out airport, most everything out there is already. So this is gonna have some actual block.
At the base of it, it's not much, but yes.
Okay.
It's gonna match what's existing out there already today too.
So going back to our previous structure we're talking about, this falls under a different category.
Yeah, metal's allowed in industrial.
It's not
visible
arterial.
from an arterial.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's tucked way
You can
back.
see this one from the sky. That's
Yeah,
about
that's about it,
Yeah,
right?
the property, the previous property was zoned correctly, but it's visible from
From
those
the
roads.
24, yep, yep.
Yeah, if it was back off the backside somewhere else, it wouldn't have been an issue for that building.
Okay. Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the staff comment.
I have a motion to approve the staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Good to see the continued growth that we're seeing at our airport. Thank you both for your management and helping us to continue to grow something that is a real jewel for our community.
Cecile, I asked
Yeah, I need to get
Charles a
some
while
socks.
ago where his socks were. He didn't have socks on. I looked out there. I wonder if he could borrow those socks.
I also noticed Paul left early, just reminding me that it almost affected my vote.
Okay. Next, we have a mandatory referral, proposed land donation from Drapac.
Yeah, this is a proposed land donation. Drapac, who's the developer of the Linwood development, it's just been renamed Southlight. is proposing to donate 2 separate tracts of land to the town. One tract is about 3.35 acres, will be used to build a fire station. The other tract totals approximately 42.48 acres, will be used as a park. The land donation would be in lieu of the payment of impact fees from this development up to that maximum dollar amount established as a part of a separate agreement between the town and Drapac. I did include the maps, they're there on your screen as well. So the planning commission is required to review the obtaining of these parcels and find whether or not it is in keeping with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town and make a recommendation to council. Staff would recommend approval.
Any questions for Kevin concerning this?
Yeah, that firehouse or fire property location is just west of, or east of, I guess, of Burnt Knob Road. Is that where that's at?
It's, well, kind of north. Well, on the
Kinda-
opposite side and just a little bit north of Burton Knob, yeah.
Positions are kind of the directions because of the turns there.
Anything else?
Aside from the property for the fire station, is the other property just going to be green space, usable, or?
I think, we don't know exactly. I talked with the Parks Director, Mike Moss. He was looking, what's in that area now, there's kind of, there's a stream through there, kind of a wet weather stream and different things. It really kind of works well for like some sort of like a passive type park with some walking trails, hiking type trails, things of that nature that we really don't have in our system right now. So, I mean, now there's some area at the frontage where the road would be eventually, that would has an area there, level enough area that you could have some, maybe a little bit more, an amenity that could be used by the people in this neighborhood and the other neighborhoods, like enough level area to be used, developed in some sort of pavilions or a dog park or something like that. But the majority of this would really be more kind of a nature trail almost type of thing. It's
Saving
what I was
some of the
thinking right
canopy.
now, yeah. So, that's, again, the exact plan of that is still to be determined certainly, but that's kind of what he's thinking right now.
Yeah, the beauty of it is by donating the land, we can do what we need to do with it in the future. Don't have to try to figure that out right now.
Yeah, my more concern was just, is it actually usable piece of land, not just a hillside type of thing?
They told us that Cedarstone wasn't usable too, remember that?
We had to make it usable with some of it, yeah.
It wasn't usable either.
And in the big picture, this is where we would want a fire station, I presume?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, this is certainly an area we need to think about. That's something we've been thinking about, trying to find a place, so this works out well for us in that regard.
Yeah, we've been talking about our urban growth boundary goes just a little bit past 840, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've talked about we'll need another one out there. There was even a conversation from the county at one point about putting some more schools out there in the future, so we definitely want one close to the schools, but, so this fits that for sure.
Okay. I'm going to need a motion on this as far as.
Yes.
Motion to approve with staff comments.
The motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion. All in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We are now on to the November bond review report.
Yeah, it's still a long one, so I'll try to go quickly as we can.
You gotta quit having long ones, Kevin.
I know, I keep hoping some of these will, we are recommending release of at least one tonight, so that's good.
At least one.
Cedar Hills, Section 4, Phase 2. This one is, I did reach out to the developer on this one, and actually, he typically gets back to me pretty quickly, and he did this time, so I don't need to follow up with him. They do still need to pave this, and we've got most of, either homes built or permitted, so they do need to get that one done. So they do recommend a 6-month extension on that one, so hopefully they can get that done next spring. We have heard from at least one owner in that area concerned about that as well, so I'll reach out to him again. Blakeney, Section 1, Phase 1, this is at the end of the maintenance period. Did not hear from that developer. Hopefully we can, they can get that done by next week, which probably won't happen.
I was gonna say, I don't know that they're gonna get striping and all of this done in a week.
So, would recommend a 3-month extension on that one. Buckingham Phase, Section 1, Phase 2, that's the one we can release. That everything is done there, so we can release that one. Burton Farms, Section 6, I did hear from the developer today on that one. They got some things they got to do. I don't even know if, he knows he's got some things to do, and there's some issues with the detention pond that he needs to work on, and right now that's too wet to do any work. So he had asked for it. Would recommend, this is the end of the maintenance period on this one, but I did recommend an extension on that one. And talking with him, he thinks if we can give him 6 more months, he'll have everything done. So I do recommend a 6-month extension there instead of 3, just because, again, in talking with him, I think he's gonna get that done. Buckingham Hills, again, probably not gonna get done by the 23rd at this point, but would recommend, in talking with him on Buckingham Place, he said Buckingham Hills is his next one he's trying to focus on to get that one knocked out, so we'll see, but otherwise a 3-month extension on that one it's at the end of their maintenance period. Gwynn Farms, off-site, he did say he would get back to me, and he'd recently taken this over from someone else at Lennar. Really only a couple items there to finish up, so hopefully they can get done. I did recommend a 3-month extension on that. Gwynn Farms Phase 3, Section 1. This is one we've only had a year. They are almost built out already. We would recommend a 6-month extension on that one. Again, same developer on that. Oak Meadow, Section 1. They did say they were working on those items. Again, this one we've had that one now about 3 years. We'd recommend a 6-month extension on that one to get that one finished up. Brooker's Bend, Section 1, this is one we're still working through. This is one the developer actually passed away, and so we're trying to work through that. And so would recommend just a 6-month extension on that one, so we can hopefully get that knocked out, figured out next spring.
So real quick on that one, just in this case, obviously, since something's changed, at some point, when do we make the decision to use the bond and finish it?
That's probably what we're gonna do. We're trying to work with the developers on Section 1, Phase 2, and there was some discussion there about working with them, that they would do part of the work when they pave, maybe they pave, and maybe we take the bond and do some of the other items, things of that nature.
Okay.
To have in a partnership there with them. Nothing finalized for sure yet. That's kind of what we're working on with that. Blakeney 4, this is one, it's not been quite as, they're still got some topping on, they're not at the maintenance period on this one yet. Would recommend 6-month extension on that one. Section 2, Phase 2, and Section 2, Phase 3, and Section 2, Phase 1 are all at the end of their maintenance period. So a 3-month extension on all those if they don't get done by early December. And then Cedar Park, I did talk to them. They were expecting to finalize that. That's a commercial development there kind of runs between Rock Springs Road and City Grove Road. Those are commercial lots. There's 2 commercial lots still left out there. They're expecting to get that done by midsummer of next year. I would recommend a 6-month extension, so we'll visit that again once they get to the summer. It'll be May of next year. Maybe we'll figure something out closer to the time. Blakeney, Section 1, Phase 2, it's another one that's at the end of the maintenance. Would recommend no more than 3 months on that one. Buckingham Place, Section 3, again, end of the maintenance, no more than 3 months on that if they don't get done, but December 10th. Seven Oaks Storage, that's one that they're really just kind of getting started on there. They did say they intend to have the underground utilities and paving completed by the end of the year. So this is one we've only had a year. That's again a commercial development there. So that's primarily a utilities bond. So we'd recommend a 6-month extension on that one. The Tommy's Car Wash, that's basically some internal paving he needs to get done. He said his adjoining parcel is listed for sale, and they did ask to get an extension there, that he would like to not pave that until that second parcel gets built on. So would recommend, again, that's all private deal there too. Would recommend a 6-month extension on that one. That's all I got.
Okay, we've heard the bond review report. Are there any other questions concerning it? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the bond review report.
A motion to approve the bond review report. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of approving the November bond review report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The bond review report is approved. Staff comments and other business.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Anything from the commission? We stand adjourned.